All right, let's call this meeting to, okay. Okay, let's call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Okay. Are there any public comment cards? Oh, flag salute first, yes. Students at Harvest Grove, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You always have to be different. I know, but still.
We have a brief moment of silence.
Yeah.
Oh. You want to say?
Go ahead.
We're just going to take a brief 30 seconds moment of silence for all the victims of 9/11, if everybody doesn't mind. Thank you, Madam President. Appreciate it.
All right, agenda review. Special presentations, correspondence superintendent.
Yeah, good evening, board, and good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see everybody. I'd especially like to welcome our kids from Harvest Grove and our staff that are there, and I see a lot of parents out there, so thank you so much for coming tonight. Just to give you kind of a run of how things are going to go is I'm going to do a short slide. Well, some of you think it's short, some of you think it's too long. A slide presentation in the beginning, and then we're going to turn it right over to Harvest Grove so we can see them. And families, you're more than welcome to hang out for the whole entire meeting, but we also understand it's a school night. So feel free after their presentation, if you need to go, that's also okay. So one of the things that I'd like to do is do a little picture slideshow of some of the amazing things that have gone on in the district since the last time we came together. And so one of the things that happened out at Cray Elementary was, maybe we don't know this, but this is Mr. Jones's 20th year as principal of Cray Elementary. And so that's a huge accomplishment. And so just so all of you know, when any of the rest of you hit 20 years, you get the night off. So that is the incentive. So, but he's actually taking his daughter to college. But what was the nice thing was Dr. Cray and his staff all surprised him. They all made shirts and had a little celebration for him. So I thought that was really sweet. And then I also want to thank Chill Coffee and Tea, who came out and selected Cray for their supply drive. We're so lucky to have so many community organizations and businesses that support our schools. And so we really appreciate that. We're also excited to continue this partnership with the teaching learning career students out at Liberty High School. So here they are at Garin. So these are students that are potentially thinking about teaching that come out and work with students, and the students love having high school students work with them. So we're really happy to have that. We've also continued the great thing that Justine Melendez started, which is our All Abilities family events. And so this is a Saturday gathering at the bowling alley with lots of happy families. They actually sold out the event. And we have this partnership with the Brentwood Police Athletic League, who's been supporting the cost for this event. So we want to thank them as well for being part of that. This is a program that I love that was started out at Marsh Creek Elementary, where they have junior coaches. And so the coaches go out, they get trained up on different games and activities that the students can do. And then they go out and they help them. They help lead the games and they do conflict resolution. So really a great program and a great way to have a wonderful recess for students. It is the sports season here in the fall. And so I always love showing wrestling pictures. So Edna Hill's off to a great start. And this is such an important thing that we do in teaching students about good sportsmanship and fair play, and also it's helpful for physical fitness. And I just want to thank it. It takes so many staff members and parents to get involved in this, to take on the important roles for this. And so thank you to everybody who's helping with the sport. This is some Ron Nunn fourth graders getting their region maps ready with the 4 regions of California on there, making them with beans, so that was fun. And then this is, I also want to celebrate our parents who have decided to be art docents, and so these are the ones that are at Montañez Elementary, our newest school that's already kicked off. And this is Miss Delgado's class. They're putting together a community quilt for the school, and so we're really lucky to have the parents that we have putting that on. And then this is another example of our art docents. So this is Miss Quintana's class at Cray, and her second graders are blending colors to put these lovely paintings together. We have some Harvest. Is there anybody from Harvest Grove that's in this picture? All right. Was it? You want to tell us what you were doing? You don't have to. I don't mean to put you on the spot. That was unfair. All right. I'll tell you what you were doing. Yeah. So, go ahead. Go ahead. You want to share? What's your name? Dallas. Go ahead. What did you do?
Well, this looks like one of those videos, kind of like like we have to like do the whole thing without the eye or not. We just wrote them and wrote them.
All right. That was pretty close to what was on our lesson plan, Dallas. So thank you. That was very good. And so a wonderful activity out there. So thank you. And thank you, Dallas. Good job. All right. I also want to celebrate our school resource officer, Chris Bollinger, who's out here. He's teaching students how to do a perfect push-up. And so looks pretty good. His hips look a little high, but I think it's pretty good other than that. Corn is a big thing right now. We have this great partnership that's going on. This was a little earlier than that. So this was for the Ron Nunn's Back to School Barbecue, and was donated by Ron Nunn and their farms. And so I want to thank them. And kids have gotten lots of experience this week shucking corn that they're going to have tomorrow. And I think we've had Smith and Masoni have been donating. Is that the one? Okay. So thank you to all those local farmers that are helping us. And then a new team out at Adams, and so majorette style dance. And so these are the Adamsettes having tryouts. So congratulations to them for getting something kicked off. That's exciting. And then we were talking about that Ron Nunn Back to School Barbecue. So here's some pictures and a great turnout, and the Rotary there cooking hot dogs for them. So thank you to everybody. And then here's the Brentwood Elementary Bulldog Bash. Lots of events. So even though we have very tired employees and parents out there, they're working together to bring people together in the community, and I really appreciate that great work. This is a new program that we have in the district, thanks to Proposition 28, which was the voter-passed initiative for arts and music and drama. And so in the elementary schools, one of the pieces that's come in is this elementary theater arts program. And so this was room 30 at Marsh Creek, and Mr. Schneider is their elementary theater arts teacher who's coming in to do fun. He was dancing at this point to Metallica, I think was the song that was on there, but it was pretty fun, and they were pretty active. This is also the season that we're out at Mission Springs Outdoor Education Center. So the science camp continues to be an important part of our 6th grade education program, and we have many students that are attending. So this is Adams out there at the fire pit for campfire, though earlier in the day, just getting there. And then let's see, Brentwood Elementary also had a great kindness challenge week, and so they kicked off the week by having this kindness tunnel where they invited family members out and staff to welcome the kids in. So I thought that was a really neat event. And then also our Guerin 4th graders are getting ready to celebrate California this year. So they typically make flag shirts at the beginning of the year so they can wear them on their field trips and when they're having special days celebrating the state. So a lot of parents there helping and doing a great job. Also, in addition, I want to thank Sergeant Burlett of the Brentwood Police Department, who continues to do our annual safety trainings with our staffs at every staff. So that continues to be something that's really important for us. I want to congratulate our special education teachers and educators of the month. So Liz Sanchez is in the far left picture there at Marsh Creek, and then Angela Elseth, who we just heard about from Dallas, from Harvest Grove, was honored for the whole district, and then Lizette Hernandez at Ron Nunn there on the far right was also honored. So thank you to all of them and congratulations. We have a 2-pay program, which is tobacco use prevention education that works through our middle schools. And so I want to thank Mrs. Terry, who's one of the teachers and lead teacher out there, and Derek, who came to help her out, and they're training their peer educators that'll go out and work with students about stopping tobacco education or stopping tobacco use before they ever start. And then this was a neat event where leadership students from Adams and Bristow and Excelsior from our friends out in the Byron School District came together for a group training about how to build community and engage students for leadership students. So a fun activity there. And then it's just some great lessons going on. This is Ms. Cuevas's 3rd grade class at Mary Casey Black, looking at what happens when water hits different surfaces. So continuing the science work there. And then here's another set of camp pictures. So this is 6th grade camp for Bristow a week later. And so getting out there, you can see a little different sign than just the campfire. And then lots of different awards coming after that first month of school. So here's Loma Vista students being celebrated for their achievements. So congratulations to them, winning for their character awards. And then I'm glad we started with a moment of silence today. So I just wanted to pull a couple of pictures from things that happened today. So out of Brentwood Elementary, this is Mr. Tognolini's 4th grade class. They had a moment of silence and they did the Pledge of Allegiance out at the flagpole in remembrance of 9/11. And then Garin students, they're 5th graders, they have these Patriot projects that they create each year. And so the students go out with their projects and they set up out in the courtyard, and then other students and family members come around and see the things that they created. So it's a real nice way to celebrate what's gone on. A couple things I want to tell you about. We have this program we're kicking off here where you can actually earn money and be a teacher, earn your credential. And so there's an information night that's happening on September 19th at Montañez Elementary School. And I want to thank Emily Richards for all the work that she's put into that program, and we're partnering with St. Mary's College on that. And then I want to remind everybody that the Brentwood Turkey Trot is coming. Believe it or not, we'll be talking about Thanksgiving soon. And so this is coming up, and you can sign up now. And that is my report. Board. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Angela Mullen, who's our principal of Harvest Grove.
I always think it's me.
Oh,
Me too. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Remember what we're saying? Great job, guys.
Building anticipation.
We have some good things ready to come. All right, so my name is Angela Mullen, and it is my honor to get to meet with you today and present my amazing Harvest Grove students and families and staff. And today you're going to hear a little bit about a new program that our leadership students have created this year. I'm really proud of all the work they've been doing. They're going to pass it out to you guys right now. Do you guys want to pass it out? And our focus here is that we're trying to build inclusive spaces for students. And so you know that Harvest Grove is a really special place and that we don't have a brick and mortar school. So we are now utilizing the whole community to build these inclusive spaces.
Hi, I'm Dina Silvers, one of the teachers there and leadership advisor for the Hedgehogs. And I do want to thank all of them for coming out. We've got some that were feeling comfortable speaking and some that wanted to come and support too. So thank you to everybody. So on this slide, what we decided to do, we were taking a survey on our students and seeing how well they were feeling social emotionally. It's especially important in these types of schools to make sure that they're feeling connected. And we knew that that was going to be an important thing for us. So we took a survey and we found out that, you can see that the comfortableness, we have it a range. People seem to feel a little bit more comfortable online. So we wanted to definitely focus on those in-person learning items, but also offer more online ones too. So I will introduce, here's our leadership club to tell you more about it.
Hi everyone. I'm excited to tell you about something super special we're doing at our school. It's called the Passport Program. My favorite thing about the Passport Program is that it makes learning fun. Imagine getting to collect cool stickers for doing awesome activities like going to visiting the pumpkin patch, joining field trips, and being part of our leadership club. But it's not just about the cool stickers, though they're really fun to collect. When kids join the leadership club, they're actually learning real life skills that they can use that will help them in the future. Like how to think critically, solve problems, and even manage budgets. These are skills that will make us better leaders in our school and in our community, all while having a blast along the way.
The Harvest Grove Passport Program is a program providing personal passports for HGVA students. It's like the one I'm holding right here. These passports will be able to be adorned with various stickers concerning the different events hosted by our school, and they can be earned by participating in said events. These passports will be a wonderful way to house memories and souvenirs from a student's time at Harvest Grove. And they can encourage students to participate in our large array of upcoming events. A drawing will be held for students who have earned stickers each month, and prizes will be distributed. Places where you can earn stickers that are coming up soon include our art classes, Husker Harvest Day, Trunk or Treat, and even this very board meeting. Thank you.
Here are some videos that students have sent in to show what they like about the Passport Program. First up is Luke from 4th grade.
I'm excited about the Passport Program and the Leadership Club because I think it'll help a lot of kids feel more confident and happy about themselves.
Next, we have a message from Lily, a 3rd grader at Harvest Grove.
Hi, my name is Lily. My favorite thing about Harvest Grove is the park meetups. They're very fun.
Up next is Josie, a 7th grader at Harvest Grove.
I'm really excited for the Passport and Leadership Program because I think it'll definitely help kids come to more events knowing the work and effort that they're putting into them, and also knowing that they can get a little sticker, a little reward for coming.
Last but not least is a video created by me, Bronx, and my dad.
I'm Ron Swiss with the Hedgehog News. The Passport Program will help make our school a better place. We'll get to be leaders, explore cool places in Brentwood, and learn more about our city while having fun and growing together. Go Hedgehogs!
We asked our teachers how they felt about the new Leadership Club, Passport Program, and Staff Club. They feel that building a leadership program can help us connect to the community. We will reach further than just our school with the program. For the 2024/2025 school year, we will focus on increasing our school climate and making it much stronger. Thank you.
Sorry.
So this year, parents like myself at HGVA are working on growing and strengthening our little community through our Parents Club. And so it's going to be less focused on some of the traditional sort of fundraising and more focused on getting families excited about and involved in the excellent offerings that the staff have already sort of put together, and then also to invite families to participate in some new opportunities that happen during school hours and after, like we recently had a end of summer swim party over at the community pool, which was fun, and we're super excited now to get to partner with Miss Silvers and her awesome leadership kids to put forward some of the new program or the new opportunities like Scarecrow in the Park that we're going to be doing soon. So the kids can work on designing a scarecrow, and then we're going to put one up for HGVA so that they can have that. So I think one of the really cool things about HGVA right now is that it's so adaptive and it's so open to new ideas. And so we really hope that parents keep sort of throwing ideas out to us so that we can keep trying new things out. And we just look forward to evolving with the program.
And these are just a couple pictures of the kids starting to get their passports. So that's been quite the buzz these days here. So we just want to thank you so much for our presentation. And, you know, I know leadership clubs are old news at other places, but we're really happy that we got our own one now too. And it's going to be really taking off. So thank you for your time. Thank you.
I have a few certificates of appreciation, so please stay there.
That was really fantastic, Harvest Grove. Thank you so much. You kids did an amazing job.
And thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Has my picture in it
Yes.
and everything.
All right.
Yes.
Fancy.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yes, thank you for the passports.
Dallas, thank you too, Dallas, for your part, okay?
All right, next we have public comments. At this time, the public is permitted to address the school board on items that are on the consent calendar, requests for future agenda items, and items that are not on the agenda.
Move that we open public comment.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. I have one card. That's it. Okay. All right, the first person is Catherine Marino.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Moreno. I'm a fifth grade teacher at Marsh Creek Elementary, and I would like to bring to the board's attention our shortage of substitutes this year. We have already had 11 school days this school year that we have not had subs covering our school. Multiple days of one sub showing up, needing 3. So it's impacting us as teachers. It's impacting our staff. I'll give you an example. Our counselor has already subbed 7 hours this year to cover classes because we're not having subs come. That means 7 hours of kids not getting counseling and help that they need. Our musical art theater teacher has already had to sub. That means our brand new program is really not getting off to a great start. He's missing classes with the kids. Our principal and our vice principal have been wonderful this year about covering and letting the teachers have their preps. Unfortunately, then that means there's no administration when we need help if we have problems with kids. We need to get subs hired. It is an issue. There's been parents that have said, I've turned in all my paperwork, I've been waiting, I'm not hearing anything from HR. So I would like to put out here that if there's a way to work with HR more to help get the pipeline moving faster, if there's things we can do. Also, remember right after COVID when we had all those great substitutes, Dana, when you came out and subbed, and we had the staff out here helping us. We would love to have more support because our classes are impacted. And I feel horrible when I tell my principal, no, I can't give up my prep today to sub for another teacher. I shouldn't feel that way. I should not feel I have to do so someone else's job when we could possibly hire substitutes to come work in our district. And I'm afraid that the longer we hold off on applications, other districts are going to snap people up. We've lost good quality teachers to other districts because we've waited for hiring. Maybe we need to be a little more proactive and get substitutes and give relief. And this is just Marsh Creek. This is the one school, again, 11 days. We have not had sub coverage because there are not enough subs to come. That's just Marsh Creek. So think about all of our elementary schools, all of our other middle schools. So thank you for listening to me tonight. And I'm hoping when I come back in October, I have better news about subs are coming out to our.
All right, thank you. Are there any more comment cards?
Move that we close public comment.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Is there opportunity for us to look at like the numbers with the subs and shortages, et cetera, so we can understand the scope of the issue or challenges? Absolutely. I'm not sure what numbers would make sense, but it would be good to be able to like look under the hood of that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, we can do that.
Is there a reason, is there a process for speeding things up, or is it just because the steps take so long, or if that can be addressed?
Yeah, I can address all of that. There's a mix of issues, and I can present on that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, next is consent items 8.0 to 8.12.
If nobody has anything to pull or add, I move that we approve consent items 8.0 through 8.12.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Board, if I could just make a quick comment. One of the things you approved in the personnel report was the retirement of Javier Galvan, who was a Bristow. He was a custodian for us for over 17 years and finished his career as the night custodian at Bristow, and just somebody who's had a real positive impact on the district. And I just wanted to wish him well and thank him for his service. So. Yeah.
All right, next, hearings and appeals, 9.0.
Yeah, so this is one, Dr. Dow Jensen, that you're going to need to open, and then close at the after. So have a motion to open it and then have a motion to close afterwards. Do you want me to read it?
Move that we open the hearings and appeals on 9.0.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So this is a notification of compliance with Education Code Section 60119 for funds received under the Pupil Textbook and Instructional Materials Incentive Program, or for grades K-12, and or funds for instructional materials for any state source. So this is it's a public hearing about instructional materials, and anybody's allowed to participate. And then if nobody participates in this hearing, we'll need to close the hearing, and then we'll have this agenda item later on in the evening.
Can I ask a question? How do they participate?
They participate by sharing at the microphone. So public comment is how they would participate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Do we have any public comment?
I move that we close 9.0 hearings and appeals.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, next, 10.0, report out of closed session. A majority of the board voted in closed session to reject Knack and Company claim number 240055. The vote was 5-0. And next, 10.1, approval of unaudited actuals.
Good evening. Tonight, we're presenting to the board the 23-24 unaudited actuals. And the unaudited actuals constitutes a detailed report of the district's financial statements for the fiscal year, which ended June 30th of 2024. So when we take a look at our annual budget cycle, which is a budget calendar, we're now at the star of unaudited actuals. So every September, the fiscal year closes June 30th. Then all the books are done. Everything is in July and August is some of fiscal services busiest times and beginning of September. And then this goes to the board. And following that, there's an independent financial audit. So it's the final part of the budget process. Also, I'd really like to thank our coordinator of fiscal services, Melissa Guzman, and all of the fiscal services team. This is an extraordinary amount of work, like everybody's job, but during the summer is when that happens, and just a thank you to their service and dedication to our district. So here we are at the unaudited actuals. This is the closing of the 23-24 fiscal year. And it's called the unaudited actuals because it's closed. We took a look in June when the board adopts the new year budget, which started July 1st. We also are looking at what's called the estimated actuals. That's what we think we're going to close the previous year with, but we haven't closed it yet. So now we're taking a look at the difference between the two. So first we're going to take a look at the unrestricted side, which is the major operating portion of the general fund budget. And what we're comparing is what we had in June as the estimated actuals and what we ended up with when we closed the books. So as you know, on the revenue side, we have local control funding formula, which is our major portion of funding from the state. There was no material change. Federal funding does not come on what's called the unrestricted side because it's highly regulated. So it goes on the restricted side of the budget. Some positive news was with other state funding, we increased by $580,000 in revenue, and that has to do with the lottery money that we get, because a lottery money is estimated, and then each quarter of the lottery, there's a report that goes out and gives to school districts the apportionment based on the actual sales of what they got during that time period. We also, under what's called other local revenue, is our interest that we had budgeted on general fund was increased, and we got some more insurance reimbursement. So if you take a look, the total revenues increased by $882,000. On the unrestricted side, if you look actually at the bottom first, the total expenditures for expenditures increased by $107,000. But if you take a look at the categories, so on certificated salaries, there was an increase from what we estimated. Again, we weren't closed. We hadn't paid our last payroll, but there was an increase in substitute costs in certificated salaries was one of the main reasons that it went up by $184,000. Employee benefits was reduced by $123,000, and it had to do with once we pay out, it was for CalPERS, what are called statutory benefits, health and welfare, OASDI, workers' comp. The budget was a little bit higher than we expected, so it went down. Just a capital outlay, you may wonder what that is. Those are capital projects when you build things or purchase items. And we hadn't planned on anything, but we ended up buying some custodial equipment, actually for IME, that fits in that category. So we had that expenditure. So on what we look at the ending fund balance on the unrestricted side. So overall, we had an increase of revenue of $774,000. We also take a look at what we call the contribution, which is how much we give to restricted programs such as special education, routine restricted maintenance, which is maintenance operations, because they only get the money from us or they're not fully funded. So we actually spent $249,000 less on that side. So the ending fund balance increased by $979,000. Then we take a look at the restricted revenues, which again are a combination of federal programs such as Title I, English learners, special education on the federal side, educator effectiveness, our one-time grants like the Learning Recovery Block Grant, which is paying for our counselors, some of our counselors. So all of those sit in this side of the budget. So federal was reduced by 251,000. And that had to do with our expanded learning opportunity program. Other state revenue increased by 385,000, and that's also lottery because it comes in on two sides of the budget. And then other local revenue went up by 1.9 million, which is significant. But what sits in other local revenue are in the site budgets, we have library resource funds, we have parent club funds, student body funds, and at the beginning of the school year or as we go along, the budgets are adjusted to what they think they're going to spend. And when they don't end up spending, it comes back, and so it makes an increase in the revenue, and it's carried over till the next year. And then county redevelopment agency funds, which are another source of capital investment funds that come through the county office. So the total restricted revenue did increase by 1.97 million. On the restricted expenditures side, again, so you've got certificated salaries, which had to do with an increase in substitutes and extended school year program. Classified salaries had to do with vacation payout and extended school year. Books and supplies, this was actually some school site student body funds that were expended that were originally not budgeted. When you take a look at services and other operating expenditures, there was a savings of $1 million. And this was mostly due to one of our one-time funds called Educator Effectiveness, which we have one more year of funds for, and it pays for professional learning, training, development for all employees in the district. And it was budgeted at a higher level than was used. However, the good news is now we have some to spend in this year as well. And the other piece for services and other operating costs that went down have to do with routine restricted maintenance, which is maintenance and operations. So for example, we thought some of the services would be completed in June and they weren't, so we'll be paying for them in July, so they've saved cost. So expenditures on the restricted side reduced by almost $459,000. Taking a look at the ending fund balance. So again, what you have is the revenue was 2.4 million over the expenditures, and that the ending fund balance is 2.1 million above what was expected at estimated actuals. Again, this is fairly typical because on the restricted side, these are all these programs that are budgeted out. And then when we close the books and we pay through salary through June, it's how that closes it out. And these fund balances are carried over, but they're very specific to certain programs and services for students.
When you say that, even though it looks like we got more revenue, it isn't like we could just spend it on anything. It's very specific, right? Is what you're calling out.
And that's a really good question because some of it, yeah. So when you take a look at the revenue, yes, like the other state did go up by 385,000. So that is lottery restricted, which we use for instructional materials only. But that is a very good thing. When you look at all the other local revenue, though, some of that is just that it came back as like your savings account got bigger, and then we can reallocate it in the next year. So it's a combination, but it's very specific, very allocated. There's also separate reporting to all the entities on every program.
And in some cases, it's not our money. It might belong to a school. It might belong to a parents club, right? So that's another piece of that that's important.
Thank you.
So it's not necessarily new money. It's maybe money that didn't get spent too, that'll be spent.
Got it. Yeah. So if you look at the unaudited actuals combined for Fund 1, we've already talked about it, but the combined revenues are 2.8 million. And then as we said, they're broken into unrestricted revenue, which is the box at the bottom of 882,000, and restricted revenue of 1.9 million, which we talked about. Taking a look at combined expenditures, unrestricted expenditures went up by 107,000 and the restricted expenditures went down. So if you take a look at the ending fund balance, which is the top red arrow, you're now at 20 million instead of 16.9. And if you look at the two bottom arrows, it's showing again unrestricted and restricted. Then we always talk about these other funds. These are part of our financial statement. They are not part of Fund 1, which is our general operating fund. They're very specific, and they have even more specific and statutory requirements. So Cafeteria Fund, as an example, has an ending fund balance of over $9 million. It can only be spent on food service operations. However, as you've heard, Kristen Nissen last April, I think, talked about how we're adding tilt skillets in every kitchen. We've added cook-baker positions. We're expanding our sort of fresh scratch cooking to meet 40% of the guidelines for the money. So the costs will go up and, are going to use up some of that funds over time. Bond fund is Fund 21 for Measure B with the ending fund balance of 6.7 million. Capital Facilities Fund is also another fund for modernization, mitigation, and any other capital projects. And those are examples. They're all positive.
There's over $9 million.
No, so an ending fund balance. No, that means that what we had when we closed their books was we had an additional, like in the savings of $9.6 million. And however, this year, for example, in their budget, it doesn't look like that because we've budgeted for 12 cook-baker positions. We've budgeted to buy 8 more tilt skillets. Actually, Garen, we also have some of those funds can be used for improvements. So I think it's Garen's getting a new kitchen floor over fall break. They're very specific. Like we can't build a new kitchen with the funds, but we can update the electrical, components for the tilt skillet and put in new floors. So yes.
We're in a transition phase right now with our kitchen programs, right? Where before the pandemic, students would choose to buy lunch or choose to buy breakfast, and students that qualified for the free and reduced lunch and breakfast programs would participate as well. But there was a dramatic change afterwards where now all students are eligible for a free breakfast and lunch per day. And that's in many cases tripled and quadrupled our numbers of kids that are going through and getting these meals. And with the money that we're getting, we're able to increase our scratch cooking. We're having an increase in the percentage of fresh food that's going to kids. We're doing events like fresh local fruit and produce, right, that's coming in. And we're hiring cooks. And so where we were once reheating plastic wrap frozen stuff, we're now making a lot of things from scratch or doing a lot of the cooking that way. So in this transition, that money can only be used for cafeteria stuff. We're also doing some new innovation. Part of what we looked at when we went over to Montañez was to see what a more modern school kitchen looks like in terms of being able to scratch cook those things. So that's part of the growth that Diana and Kristen have to manage as they go forward as well. But that involves many more people in terms of staff for serving the students as we go forward.
So tonight, the board will be asked to approve the unaudited actuals. Then that's submitted to the County Office of Education, where they review it and certify it and send it on up to the state for final certification. And then what really happens between April and November is we have independent auditors every year who come in and do an annual financial audit. They start in April and May doing some site testing because it's sort of the end of the 23-24 year, and then they come back in the fall and they pull all kinds of audit all sorts of the budget and financial pieces, and they present that in January to the board, which is the deadline. So to talk about some of the impacts of the unaudited actuals. So the unaudited actuals, if the ending fund balance increases, it means the beginning fund balance increases in the next year's budget of 24-25. So when you approve tonight, the beginning fund balance will go up. And what will that do based on what we saw in August with the revised budget report? We had the adopted budget and then we revised it in August. And then, so last month, the unrestricted ending fund balance reserve for that unrestricted side was at 3%. Well, with these additional, mostly lottery revenues on the unrestricted side, it is now will be 3.47% as of this budget reporting today. We also, there was going to be a reduction of almost $285,000. This was budgeted, and we anticipated it for the 24-25 fiscal year to meet the 3% reserve. So as of this report today, we don't need to do that. And it also reduced the amount in 25-26 from $880,000 to $330,000. And that is as our budget stands today. But what happens when we talk about first interim comes to the board in December, and first interim includes, it can include hopefully updated enrollment and attendance projections, which could be higher, which would bring us more revenue. But it also, it's the salary and benefit budget adjustments from June. So when we bring the adopted budget in June, this is what we think staffing looks like. We don't have all the people in place. We haven't done summer enrollment. So that generally increases. And then we'll have the negotiated salary in first interim. So we're asking tonight for you to approve the unaudited actuals.
There's no comments. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the unaudited actuals for the 23-24 school year.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Next is 10.2, Human Resources Staffing Update.
Good evening, board. Let me move my casting here, sorry. There we go.
Stoney was pretty excited.
Was Miss Jobe trying to cut into my action here? All right. So this year, staffing, I want to give you a staffing update. And we hired 65 teachers this year, or certificated staff members. That also includes vice principals and principals, and 71 classified staff members. We got out really early for certificated staffing. What we have found is that you begin that process in January and February, and we tend to have the job fairs that occur in February and March, and then throughout all the way into June. For classified staff, that works a little bit differently. If you go out too early for classified staff, then sometimes they're not available when school starts in July. They found other work, things like that happens. So, grand total here of 136 people that have been hired for this school year. So a significant amount of people. My staff is 5 people. Every one of those hires go through our recruiter, which is Emily Cooper. So a big shout out to her. And then it splits off into certificated and classified. Gabby is our newest member of our team. She's been with us since June. And so she hired probably a third of these folks went through her in our certificate staffing. So here's a breakdown here of 21 multiple subject teachers at our elementary schools, 10 middle school teachers, 10 special ed, just to kind of give you some scope here. Excited to be able to say 2 music teachers. Last year, that was a struggle. 4 psychologists, that was also a struggle. 6 SLPs, you remember the work that we did in working with BTA to change that SLP pay structure and salary schedules, and as a result, we were able to attract 6 SLPs. So that's significant. As last year, we had many contractors as a result. In fact, we just hired an SLP 2 weeks ago that was a contractor for us last year and this year, and it really came down to retirement. They get no retirement as a contractor, and because of the pay scale, they joined us. So that was also significant.
Would they count as the 6 or 7 year max for the salary schedule? If they're coming over from the contractor, they're considered.
Actually, that's a hard to fill position, and so they'll get all their years of service. Special ed and SLPs, hard to fill positions, so we give them all the years of service. Yep. Excellent question. It's classified staffing. The bulk of these 44 aides really occurred in the last 40 days. And so that's a lot of people to onboard. And then along with campus supervisor, Diane already spoke to food services. That's some of our new positions there. 2 years ago when I came to this position, we really struggled in being able to get food service employees to, we would see 2 or 3 applicants. We would see, or interview with us. We would see 10 applicants for a position. We're now seeing upwards of 40 and 50 applicants for a position in food services. So that's exciting to see. Here's some of our other positions that we have filled, and actually that the custodian one has actually changed to 2. And like I said, most of this has occurred since mid-July to now.
What's the reason for the increase in food service?
We created 2 new positions. So the cook baker position, which we did not have before, and then we have a production lead, which before we had 2 positions. We had a food service assistant and a food service lead. And so now we technically have 4 positions, the production manager, a cook baker, and the food services assistant. So that's the reason for that. Mm-hmm. Substitutes. So, as Ms. Marino brought up tonight, we do have a shortage of subs. There's no doubt about it. We have 189 teacher subs on the books. And what we're finding is that we have about an 89.5% fill rate weekly. On average, we have 65 teachers that are out a day. Fridays and Mondays, obviously, we have much more. Instructional aides, we have 40 instructional aid subs on the books, but we've been hiring some of them. So that number has probably changed since I created this presentation. And then the rest of the numbers there, LVNs, 10 for M&O. And so some of these folks have been hired. Some of them are also, so let me give you one example. So we have instructional aides that are substitutes, but they're also substitute teachers, right? One of the things that's impacted us in recent weeks in substitute teachers is that some of our subs were chaperones for our science camps. So in the last 3 weeks, we've seen an impact of that. Emily Cooper's working hard to onboard substitute teachers. We have about 30 substitute teachers that are currently being onboarding. The process for that is convoluted, and it takes twice as long to onboard a sub than it does a regular employee. And the reason for that is that we don't get alerts from the state when they get their certificate of clearance. We're dependent on the person, the applicant, to notify us. And then we have to do the same thing when they get their emergency credential and their DOJ. We do get an alert for the DOJ piece. And so there's a lot of hand-holding, a lot of follow-up emails that occur, and a lot of time in processing. Meanwhile, she's also handled 5 interviews this week, 5 interviews last week, 7 the week before that. So there's other things that come our way through HR. One of the things that we're looking at in substitute teachers is bringing an outside agency to help us with the onboarding process to speed that up. And also we began to triage. So there was a strong belief in the department that first come, first serve. So if you signed up to become a sub, then we handle that person, then we move to the next person. And we can't do that. We need to fill these substitute positions. And so as a result, we're triaging. If you already have a certificate of clearance, clearance, you're moving to the top. If you've subbed for another school district, you're moving to the top of the list. Byron is actually sending us subs because they can't keep them busy. And so we've been working with Byron to be able to do that. I actually got a phone call yesterday from a friend of mine asking about what's taking so long for his daughter to get on as a substitute teacher. And by the end of the conversation, we realized that she was trying to onboard at Liberty High School. So we're all experiencing the same thing. And I tried to convince him to send his daughter to elementary, but she really wanted to teach high school. So good for her. So it is definitely an issue and something that we're going to continue to work on. And we'll try to streamline as best we can, but it really is a hand-holding and a back-and-forth issue between state. TB testing is another one that's really slowed us down this year because hospital facilities are really impacted, and so they've tightened up of when they do their TB testing, and so we've had some issues with that as well. So how do applicants hear about us? So with the use of Frontline, which is our application process that we use, something that we brought on 2 years ago, we're able to get this data, and you'll see that EdJoin is still our 32% come to us through EdJoin, but 18% is word of mouth through our district employees. They're the ones going out there talking to folks and getting them to apply for positions. And then job fairs, 8%. You'll see that our job fairs, we hosted our own job fair this year, and we had more applicants at our own job fair than we did from the county job fair. So that was significant. This 26% other, 113 people, we want to get a breakdown on that. So we've added a question so that we can find out where that other is coming from. And to learn more about it. So, no discredit to the newspaper, but you can see we got one applicant from newspaper advertisements, right? And it's not what folks are using today, right? They're going online. The other piece is we're trying to streamline our application process as much as possible. We've gone through a couple revisions to speed that up. I live with a couple of millennials, and I will tell you that if it takes more than 15 minutes to fill out an application, then it's too long. And so, right? And so we try to streamline that as much as possible, but there's some things that are unavoidable because of the state requirements. So recruitment part, we went to 8 job fairs. We hosted our very first East County job fair. We invited all of East County schools. We hosted that at Edna Hill Middle School. And so I want a big shout out to them for getting that prepped and ready for us. It was very successful to the point where Liberty has asked if they can partner with us and alternate it from year to year. So they'll take next year, we'll take the following year. We've decided that we're going to expand that to not just certificated, but classified as well. A huge shout out to the HR team, but also to our principals and vice principals for coming out to that job fair and supporting it, because they're when someone talks to a principal or vice principal about a position, or to a classroom teacher or a psychologist that's there, that's really where we win that person over to come to the Brentwood School District, and that's what really helps. So, and I just lost.
All right.
It was my last slide. I can finish this up. So at the job fair, 7 districts, we had 150 applicants. And then we also held a classified job fair where we had 120 applicants. There's oftentimes you hear about folks come into the classified position and then they leave us. And the truth of the matter is this year we've had 7 people that onboarded and then left us and found out that wasn't the right position out of those 62 people that we hired this year in classified positions. So that's really not that bad. Any questions for me?
Yeah, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
This was great, and congratulations to you and your staff.
On recruiting and onboarding all those new staff members to the district. I remember a couple of meetings ago, you mentioned might have been like a update to the job description, or like the generic boilerplate job. I don't know, something about adding an additional language or prefer something that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks you for asking that, Stephanie. So on our postings, we put that multiple languages preferred. And so we're not indicating any one particular language, but in that way, it helps us to diversify our applicant pool. And as a result, we are hiring a more diverse staff.
Okay. I would be curious what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to tie that into our equity plan report. But I can bring back something sooner.
Yeah, I think it would be good with these types of updates to have that incorporated in your presentations in the future.
Sure.
if at all possible.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
You bet.
I had a question, Chris. Frontline application process. What is Frontline?
Yeah, great question. So Frontline is a tool that we use. It's an online tool, and so we still use EdJoin, and everyone in education uses EdJoin pretty much, right? It's a service that's provided by a county office, and applicants are used to going through EdJoin. The problem with EdJoin is I don't know if you started to apply for a position, and I don't know until you've completed your application and sent it in. Frontline allows us to track the application and gives us some data. So for an example, a special ed teacher, as soon as we see they pulled an application and they put their name on it and their phone number, Emily is calling them saying, I see you started filling out an application. We have interviews this Thursday. We'd love for you to come in and interview for us. We didn't have interviews on Thursday, but we saw an applicant and now we have interviews on Thursday, right? And so we bring them in. We say, could you please finish filling out that application so that we can bring you in? And then as a result, we're able to track the data of how many applicants we had, how many did that produce into interviews, and then from those interviews, how many were we able to hire?
So it's kind of like Indeed, is that what it's called?
In a sense, yes. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
Next is 10.3, BUSD Board Priority Goal Update, Implement Best Practices.
Good evening. Good evening, Board of Education. So I'm here to give you an update on some of our priority goals. And tonight we're going to take a look at goal number 1, which is implementing best practices in all classrooms. So the 3 main areas that we're focused on here is continuing to use our research-based continuums of practice for improving instructional practice, implementing the adopted curriculum that we started last year, and then some focus on using balanced assessment practices. So to start off, just a little bit of data. This is our data for our English language arts for all students in Brentwood in 2023. It is the most current student data. We do not yet have the data from this past spring. This shows that the state has this system of, I call them the little colored protractors, or what was that game where you read that? No, okay, I'll think of it later. Never mind.
You're saying Simon, is that it?
No. No, never mind. The little protractor thing. Our goal is green. So you can see for all our students in English language arts, it's yellow. And we were, as a whole district, 4.2 points above standard. So what they do is they take all the student scores, they add them together, and they divide them by the number of students, and you get an average above the standard level, so the target point. From 2022 to 2023, we improved, or we went down, they consider it maintained, but by point, a little less than a point. And those are the number of students tested out of all of our students, because remember, we only test 3rd through 8th grade, so that's why it's not 10,000 students. This is the data, you have it with you, but this is the data for all the groups in English language arts. I'm not going to go over every part of this, but it's very easy to see that we have a range of outcomes for our students in English language arts, all the way from at least one group in red to some groups in green. This is how we did in math in 2023. So you can see we did meet that green target. What's interesting here, and what I want to point out, is that you saw in ELA we were slightly above standard, but yellow. In math, we're 21 points below standard, but green. That is because this little protractor scale takes in both achievement and improvement. And so the fact that we increased by 5.7 points means that we were able to meet the cut points to be put in the green for math. So on good trajectory. these are groups for math. Again, you can see a range of scores all the way from red to at least green, no blues actually. So you can see again a range there. And this is our science. So we had 30% roughly that met or exceeded standard in science. While that's really low, the nice thing is that we have nearly 54% who have nearly met standard. It's only 15% who have not. So there's a lot right there on that bubble that we're hoping to capitalize on. What we're trying to accomplish for this school year is in ELA math, improve all groups and our overall by at least 3 points, and then move at least any group from red to orange. And in science, improve our met or exceed percentage by 6 points. So what are we doing to address that? I'm not going to read this all to you, you have it, but the big idea here is what we're doing for around professional development, implementing those best practices and using collaboration to do so. And you can see an array of things we're doing from professional development to committee work, etc. In addition, we are continuing to support implementation of our newly adopted elementary science curriculum with committee work and ongoing professional development. We're beginning to install a balanced assessment system, so looking at all of our interim assessments and our assessments that happen between those big state tests. And then we're focused on implementing some new grading policies at the middle school. The essence of those policies is really focused on putting the focus on learning, not on grades. So there's a few things noted there that we're doing. How we're going to measure this, I've mentioned before, I know Kirsten has, that each site has an action plan that they develop around these priority goals that help to address the goals and actions. We'll be monitoring our professional development. How's it going? What's working? What's being successful? Obviously, classroom observations are a way we gather data. The bigger pieces of data like assessment and the state data, we'll be monitoring our assessment implementation, and obviously with our grading practice changes, looking at grades and how that impacts grades. And then I just want to let you know that the state scores for 2024, what students took in the spring, will be available sometimes this fall. I haven't heard a date yet, but they are not out yet. And that will give us a good way to gauge our progress and make adjustments. And then I will follow up with that data and some of the work we've been doing this year with a presentation in the spring.
If I could just jump in and say, one of the frustrations we face is it seems pretty clear that a better presentation for you here would be sharing our results that we had in May of this past school year, right at this time. And we're still waiting on those results. So we're presenting results that we had in May of 2023, right? Which is frustrating for us because it's hard for us to know the impact of our changes without seeing that data that comes through. And the promise of a digital testing system was originally that we would get the results a lot faster. And so that hasn't happened. And so that's why you're seeing older data as you go forward, but we'll bring that forward when we get it.
Good point. Any questions for me?
This is a great presentation. I just have one comment around
best practices, and it could be an opportunity to figure out best practices to engage families in what happens at the home to reinforce the learnings happening at school.
Yeah, good thought. Yep. Okay.
Thank you, Mike. Next, 10.4, approval of resolution 2024-26.
Yes. So tonight, we're asking the board to approve a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of bonds from Measure B not to exceed $9 million and approve a bond purchase agreement. So as a reminder, the district successfully passed Measure B on June 7th, 2016, with the community support of 57.3%. The authorization was $158 million. So since that time, the district has issued 3 separate GEO bond series they were 25 million in 2016, 20 million in 2019, and 50 million in 2022. So we're getting down on our bond, the remaining bond funds to continue to do modernization and new projects for our schools. And so we've come tonight and working with K&N Finance, who's the financial advisor, and actually Danielle Aruda is here, really just if you have any questions. But Superintendent Eaton and I have been working closely with Danielle for about 2 months, talking about bond and sales and issuance. So we have a capacity to go out for about $9 million. And a couple things I just wanted to say is that originally the district went out for an RFP for underwriter and went through a full process, and we felt that we needed to go out. We have 2 underwriters from our pool that were selected last time. So we did an RFP just to those 2 underwriters, and RBC Capital Markets was selected for this time around based on that process.
And then one other thing that I would add, because just as a reminder, is the board made a promise when we went out for that bond to keep the amount that the taxpayers would pay at $28 or below per $100,000 of assessed valuation. The legal limit is $30 for an elementary school district, but and so we've been working under that premise. And so we believe, and Danielle will attest to that, we believe that this will keep it under $28 per $100,000 as we go forward and continue. So just wanted to remind the board of that.
At some point, there'll be a plan of what this is 9 million for.
Well, the plan is already in existence, right? So we'll just continue on the projects we have. Actually, what will ultimately happen, right, is probably at the end of this money being of us getting this money, we won't be able to get the rest of that $158 million. So we'll be 50-something million dollars that are there until several years out, until the assessed valuation grows or we pay off some of the older bonds. So one of the discussions the board will have to have is, if we look at the projects that are still left, right, we have many portables, we have schools that are getting older, we'll probably have the need for another school as we go forward, is that by the time we look at the next election, we're probably looking at 10 years out from our last bond. And is that something that the board wants to consider, is going out for another bond at that point to be able to complete and finish new projects as we go forward?
Just not to, off the top of your head, when's our oldest bond expire? Do you know? Okay, sorry, that's all right.
No, that's okay.
Danielle.
I can answer that.
She came all the way out here.
Okay, let's let Danielle.
Danielle, she can answer it, but go ahead. Just turn your microphone on.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. Currently for Measure B, the final maturity right now is 2052. Given these new bonds that the district is projected to issue, we're looking at August of 2054.
I actually meant, though, previous, not Measure B ones.
So like when's the next one going to come off?
Yeah, that's.
Dan, I'll let you go ahead.
We did look at that. It's actually not that long out. I don't want to say it off the top of my head because we looked at it, but it's within the next few years that one of the measures should fall off at that point. But that doesn't impact the ability to get that. That won't allow us to get more money at this point out of this bond, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions? I move that we approve item 10.4, resolution number 2024-26.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. 10.
Thank you, Daniel.
10.5, approval of tentative agreement, classified liaison committee.
Yeah, board. So this one is for our CLC committee, classified liaison committee, and this is the tentative agreement that we reached with them in July. What we're bringing before you tonight.
I make a motion that we approve the tentative agreement with the CLC.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. 10.6, approval of tentative agreement, California School Employees Association.
So similar, this is our agreement with our CSEA group, which is our custodians and our groundskeepers and maintenance and operations, and as well as food services. And so we reached an agreement with them also at the end of July, beginning of August.
I'll make a motion that we approve the tentative agreement with the CSEA.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. 10.7, approval of provisional intern permit.
I do want to say that in my presentation earlier, I did not give a shout out to Lisa DeCroft-Wooten, who's been with us since March and is our classified person, and then also to Jenny Clark. I would really feel sad tomorrow if I forgot to mention them. So they've worked really, really hard in onboarding to everyone.
Excellent.
So I want to shout that out to our team of 4 there. This is our newest teacher in the district. This is a provisional intern permit to allow Jana Trowbridge to be a teacher in our district, special ed teacher, and so she is our newest hire.
Move that we approve item 10.7, the provisional intern permit.
Second. Third.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Next is 10.8, approval resolution 2024-27.
Yes, the GAN limit resolution, this is required each year as a separate board action item, although it's part of the unaudited actual report. And the actual GAN limit is in the SACS financial reporting, but they ask us to do it separately.
I'll make a motion to approve.
No.
Make a motion to approve item number 10.8, approval of resolution 2024-27.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. 10.9, approval resolution 2024-28.
This is related to that hearing that you opened and closed earlier, which just the interaction says we have sufficiency of infrastructure.
Move that we approve item 10.9, resolution number 2024-28.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. And 10.10, first read of board policy, board bylaw, administrative regulation exhibit.
Yeah, board. So these are 3 new board policies that are here for your information. There's a great summary of the changes that Ms. Clevin did, and then they will come back to you as action items at the next meeting in consent.
All right. Okay. Any board member comments, future agenda items? No? Okay. Well, then the next regular board meeting will be held on October 23rd, 2024 at 6 p.m.
Is it going to be a party night? Oh, gosh.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Meeting's over at 8:17. All right.